Yeah, this one is for Billy. He asked me to explain to him the principles and components of a water coolant system. Yeah, a flashlight. Now, you know that my PC is water cooled. I'm doing this for a few years now, and it always worked fine. So let's see what there's to it. At first you need a radiator. The radiator, well, there you see it is actively cooled. The radiator is basically the part of the coolant system which, well, exchanges the heat. The water flows through it and then gets cooled down again. Well, this is just like a radiator you have in a car too. In the front of the car there's a big radiator. It's also a water coolant system. There are water coolant systems which are completely passively cooled, but those have quite large radiators, say 3, 4, 5 times larger than this one, so you wouldn't even need actively cooling here. Yeah, and modern water coolant systems have those PVC hose connectors, like you can see here on the actual cooler. Let's see, should have a piece of those hoses. No, it's some of the components of my coolant systems are a little older, so I mixed it. Well, I had a silicone hose. As you can see, those little pieces are a silicone hose, which was my first system, an older system. Now it's all this PVC hose here. It's a hard hose. This one is a very flexible hose. This is a hard one, and this is a flexible one. But as you can see, I just took it and interconnected those two systems, like, well, putting one into the other and then fixing it. Well, this works quite fine. This piece here, this interconnection, is a temperature probe that always gives me the temperature of the water. So the water is currently 36.3 degrees Celsius, and this is the alarm temperature. So if it would raise above those 45, it would get red and then do some alarm like beep beep beep. Right. Yeah, and then of course there's the pump. I had an older pump which was 230 volts driven. So this is the control light, and this was the switch. So switching that one on, switched on the pump, and the whole pump. Then I realized that's quite nasty, because you have to switch on the pump separately to the PC, and it was quite nasty. So I installed a relay which is inside the case here, so every time I switched on the computer the pump went on automatically. But this was the old system. I don't have it anymore because I have a 12 volt driven pump. It's an Eheim. This is a quite sophisticated pump that's especially for water coolant systems, directly connected to the 12 volt system, so you don't need to switch it on separately, because if you switch on the PC the pump will go on automatically. And yeah, it's quite those pumps, if they get old, they can get quite noisy and quite annoying. So that's the second pump I have, and it's not that prone to say it's more sophisticated, and it's really very quiet. You wouldn't hear the pump by itself. Yeah. One very, very important component to the pump, to the system, is this tubule. Well, in German we say Ausgleichsbehälter. It's what could we say in English? Like yeah, this is where the oxygen, well, the air, gets out of the whole system. You see, yeah. The water is pumped into the case right here on the right side, the higher side, and if there is water, if there is well, O2 or something, air in the water, it gets up here, and and the water is getting out on the other side, so it's used to get the air out of the system. The first thing I bought, the first set, water coolant set, it was a cheaper one. It didn't have this, and you see, this isn't, well, it's not usable that way, because there will always get air into the system, and this will make bubbles. And the problem is that this pump, it can't really keep the water in motion when there's air in. Yeah, it's sort of like a passive pump. It will only work if there's not too much air in the water. The whole thing could get to a hold if there's too much air in the water, and it's also blubbering like all the time, and it's very nasty. So you really need this. There are those flow indicators which you can install into the system. It shows you a little thing that then drives around, and then you can always see, yeah, the water is flowing, because with those pumps here, it's not ensured that the water is always flowing. That's a little problem, especially when you install the system the first time. It can be a little tricky to get the water flowing the first time. Yeah, and this is the actual cooler which I installed, where the water flows through. And then, of course, you have a lot of possibilities to connect graphic cards, chipsets to the water coolant system. Well, right here in my system, it's only the CPU that is water cooled. And let's see. You see, my graphics card is passively cooled, so I wouldn't need special coolant here. And the chipset is also passively cooled. See, but the problem with the chipset is it gets very hot, so I have this additional fan here for the chipset, because it gets awfully hot. So I didn't want to, well, you know, risk that it gets damaged. So yeah, that about the water coolant system. If you need to know anything more, I have a special question, you can always ask me. Now, to repeat it, this one was for Billy.